Good afternoon, brothers and sisters, and welcome once again to the Self-Improvement Basis for Community Development Talk Show. I'm your weekly host, Brother James Muhammad. I'm honored to have on the show this afternoon as we discuss the Nation of Islam Prison Reform Ministry, Brother Kenneth X, who's a student minister in the Prison Reform Ministry, and also we have Brother Dennis X, who is a student minister in the Prison Reform Ministry. Good afternoon, brothers.
Good afternoon, brother.
And welcome to the show. Brothers and sisters, we are Facebook Live, so if we make any mistake, please charge it to the mind and not the heart. But I think it's very important to have you brothers on where we can discuss one of the most important aspects of the Nation of Islam, the Prison Reform Ministry. Brother Kennedy, you first, my brother. How did you get introduced into the Nation of Islam Prison Reform Ministry?
Well, I was incarcerated in the Tennessee Department of Corrections in 1993, and about 8 years later, I would say, about 2001, a brother that was over the study group at the institution I was at, he reached out to me, invited me to a service, and for whatever reason, I went that particular time, and I heard a tape of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And what he said on that tape, it resonated with me. He said that there is no human being that cannot be redeemed. Well, at that particular time, my mind was in such a place that I was always angry, I was always depressed. I was dealing with a lot of the emotional baggage that ones have when he's incarcerated. Emotionally, psychologically, you're in an environment that is detrimental to you, not just physically, but also mentally and spiritually. So at that time, I was looking for something. And when I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and then I was introduced to a study course called Self-Improvement, the Basis for Community Development, it began to give my life focus, direction. I knew I still had value. So as I began to work on myself through these study guides, through self-examination, self-analysis, and self-correction, I saw where I went wrong in my life. You know, sometimes you can get off course, and unless you see a sign that tells you you're going the wrong way, you're thinking you're going right. Well, I didn't get that sign. But when I saw and read and studied, but most importantly, Brother James, I applied what I read.
Yes, sir.
And it began to have a transformative effect upon me. And as they say, the rest is history. I began to, after I finished working on myself, I won't say finished, but once I worked on myself to the degree that I was able to be raised in consciousness and awareness, I began to try to work on other people in my environment. And here I am today.
Okay, brothers and sisters, if you're now just tuning in to the Self-Improvement Basis for Community Development Talk Show, our brother Kenneth just mentioned, the Self-Improvement Study Guides. These study guides are designed on the guidance of Allah. Yes, and these are the tools that we use when we go into the prison reform ministry and to reform our brothers and sisters in the prison. We have Brother Dennis here also. Welcome to the show, brother. I should say welcome back, brother.
Yes, sir.
How did you get introduced into the Nation of Islam Prison Reform Ministry, brother?
Initially, at the tender age of 15, I was introduced to Islam in general by a brother by the name of Mario McDowell. His uncle would write us at Taft Youth Center, and he would tell us about Islam. And the closest thing we had to read was books, history books, the autobiography of Malcolm X, primarily, and other books in addition to that. From there, I ended up going to Brusher Mountain. And brothers heard that there was a Muslim on the compound, but he was on Max. And at the time, they would send me the Baladian newspaper. I didn't know nothing about Sunnah, Nation, or Hanafi. I just knew about Muslim.
Yes, sir.
And the brothers would send me the newspaper, and of course I would learn, you know, you said Monicas of Faith, your 5 pillars, and traditional Islam information. But from there I went to Northwest in Lake County. I had an opportunity to go to both services. And I was asking the brother a lot of questions about what was the difference. And the brother told me to choose what fit your spirit. Well, of course, the discipline, the militancy, the unity of the Nation of Islam fit my disposition. And that was my introduction. It was a student coordinator by the name of Brother Prince Mahdi. I said, brother, what I got to do to be a part of this? He gave me 6 words, the Honorable Muhammad and Minister of congregate to all of us. Accept your own
and be yourself.
Yes, sir.
And to take 1 step toward Allah, and Allah take 2 towards you. He said, but being a part of a military army of God, you got to cut your hair. And the evening, that was the first sacrifice, or the first step I made. A conscious and deliberate decision to cut my hair. And that will begin my process, Brother James.
Oh, praise is due to our brothers and sisters. If you're just now tuning in, share with someone, especially young men and young women, or someone you know that's been incarcerated. I'm sitting here with my brothers, Brother Kenneth X and Brother Dennis X, as we discuss true prison reform. Our brothers just gave us a testimony. Now, after coming into the nation, how has the Nation of Islam affected your life since then?
It's a twofold answer I'd like to respond to that with. It's a process of redemption and rebirth. That's the essence of reform, to be born again.
Yes, sir.
Not to re-enter the womb of your mother and be born again, but be born again or baptized into the knowledge of God and being cleansed by the understanding and the wisdom of the knowledge of God that reformed my life. It was a process. I made mistakes, I made errors, and I even took a slight fall during that process. My initial stage of it, I was telling the brother Kenneth weeks ago that my initial process, the brothers who I first came under was beautiful brothers and taught me a lot of knowledge. But during their inception in the Nation of Islam, it was a lot of anger, it was a lot of hatred due to their imprisonment. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And a lot of that anger and frustration was passed on to me. So I had a lot of, and I'm talking about teaching it, the vitriol, the hatred, the anger that sometimes manifests in the teachings to get people confused. The Islam teaches hate, but it's the epitome of love. But it can be expressed in such a vile way that one would think you teaching hate or racism. You understand?
Yes, sir.
And so that was part of my transition. I had a fall, and when I say this openly, because I want you to understand that God's love, God's redemptive power is unconditional.
Come on.
Come on.
It's unconditional. So though we fall, we must do what? Get back up. And so that's what it is, man. A picture I seen the brother on that picture, you see a man reaching for another man's hands to pull him up. That's the process of resurrection. That's the process of reform. I met this brother here. I tell him this. I say it in private, but sometimes it's good to say it in public. He was one of the most spiritual brothers I met. No matter how much time we spent together and how many situations we dealt with, I never seen him get angry or manifest excessive aggressiveness. And it's abnormal in the prison environment. You know what I mean? So it gave me personally another level of growth to observe that. Because in the institution, during the reform process, you put everybody up under a microscope.
Yes, sir.
Whatever you teach and whatever you say, everybody, not just the believers, but the people in the institution, the gangbangers, the thugs, the rapists, the robbers, everybody watching you. Is he about what he say he about? And it's a beautiful thing when you can fulfill that label of title of being a student coordinator, being a minister, or being a helper of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And you know, so it's like it's coming full circle for me, brother. It's coming full circle in that the teachings are so beautiful, man, and there's no ending to it. That the longer you stay a part of it, the more the process completes itself. Yes, sir.
Brother,
Can I answer the question, brother?
yes, sir. That's beautiful, brother. Matter of fact, I was sitting here thinking, I'm glad we had a chance to reshoot this over again. But I have a question for you, Brother Kennedy.
Yes, sir.
During that process of practicing Islam in a prison, what type of difficulty factors was you faced with trying to practice but also share with young brothers coming into the institution?
Well, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he always teaches us in overcoming difficulty that there's a difficulty factor attached to anything of value. And so once I embraced the teachings, as the brother said, accepted my own and learned how to be myself, the first difficulty factor I faced was being allowed to change. You know, you come into prison and you come in one way. Yes, and it's hard to sometimes outrun your reputation. People don't want you to change, especially if it's for the better.
That's right.
And so as I began to change, I'm at an institution where I was sort of like the mayor. You know, I was the guy. I could pretty much do whatever I wanted to do. But when I began to be righteous, all of a sudden I started getting locked up. You go to the hole, and when they just want to trump up a charge on you, they have a charge called pending investigation. And Brother Dennis can tell you they can keep you locked up 7 days at a time without even telling you why. And then they can extend it up to 3 more times, 7 days. So I would go to the hole 21 days at a time for nothing. And so that was one difficulty factor. Another difficulty factor came when I was transferred for no reason, and I was out there by myself. I had been a young Muslim maybe a year, 2 years. Now here I am at the worst institution in the state at that time, South Central, real slaughterhouse. So I'm there, no nation actively, but we had a room. So now I got the difficulty factor of how do I establish the teachings? Am I qualified to teach this? So I prayed to Allah and I just started studying. Allah blessed me with understanding. So that was another difficulty factor. And when you're establishing something, I'm putting everything I got in there, including my money. So now I'm broke. I got, you know, we don't like to call home for money. You know, that's the last thing you want to do. But when you're looking at your book and you got $5 and you like, man, I got to get some Zuzus or Wham Whams, but I also got to buy some books because the brothers need that. I got to get some prayer rugs. The brothers need that. So it was things like that that really increased my faith, because when I prayed to Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad and intervened and called on the Mahdi, the God, he answered. The Quran teaches the Muslims that Allah says, pray to me, I will answer. And when he came to my aid, hey, I was all in, as they say.
Okay, all praise is due to Allah. Brothers and sisters, if you're just now tuning in, welcome to the Self-Improvement Basis for a Community Development Talk Show, a show that is heavily influenced by the Self-Improvement Study Guide. My brother said he had to overcome a difficulty. I imagine the study guide overcoming difficulty helped him overcome that difficulty.
Yes, sir.
During this process.
Immensely, brother, immensely.
And if you listen closely to some of your rappers, you'll hear this study guide in their music. In the movie Belly, there was a study guide that he was reading that influenced his change, Nas, and it was the Self-Improvement Study Guide, written by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and inspired by God. Brothers, there's federal institutions, state institutions, and there's private institution.
Yes, sir.
What are the different, and does these different institutions approach Islam differently and the Nation of Islam?
Federal prison, once upon a time, it was designed for primarily white collar crime. You know, you being people with money. Just recently, with the attack on the youth, the attack on gangster rap, the attack on the war on crime or drugs was really a war on blacks and the youth. They had made up laws like if you get caught with a gun, you would go to federal prison. In federal prison, they can send you anywhere in America. In the state prison, they can only keep you in that state.
Okay.
Then you got the CCA prison, Core Civic, which is a privatized prison, who make over $370 million profit annually. Imagine that now. This profit for people going to prison. One of your bigger investments are people like Michael Jordan. But it's fact. But the difference is, in a federal prison, Islam more established because you got people who have been there for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. It's more serious. In a state prison, which he can attest to, you can build a nation. You can get here and set up a study group. Once they start saying people listen to you, you finna get tripped. You finna get transferred. So them are some of the primary differences as far as Nation Islam concerned inside this system. You good for the compound, but you bad for the institution. Because usually we set up councils to where, look man, we're gonna stop the raping, we're gonna stop the robbing, we're gonna stop the drug dealing, we're gonna stop the excessive usury. You know what I'm saying? Yes. We get a prison balance. It kind of reminds me, for those who are familiar with a man called Yaqub, when he locked up all his followers, and they was creating so much chaos inside the institution, they kicked him out to their own island. So a lot of times when a lot of brothers would go in prison and really practice Islam, they almost be forced to kick them out. When they get through shipping you everywhere and lock you up and don't break you, you gotta get rid of him.
Okay, sound like you, huh?
he a threat to our institution. Not because he's a violent threat, but he's a threat intellectually more than spiritually. Because he's interfering with our money. So them the kind of the differences. Well, they use the word rehabilitation, they use the word correction. But in truth, it's not about none of that anymore. It's an extension of the plantation. It's an extension of the 13th Amendment, where it says slavery is duly and servitude is duly outlawed except, that key word except, in the commission of a felony, and you lose all your rights, the right to vote, the right to bear arms, all the things that make you a citizen in America, you lose. So what do you become? You become a slave. And you become a piece of chattel, C-H-A-T-T-E-L, property, chattel slavery all over again. Well, it's not about correcting you, it's about enslaving you perpetually for profit. Yes, sir.
Thank you, brother. Brother Ken, did you want to add something to that?
Oh, brother, sometimes you just got to say assalamu alaikum, man. I think the brother summed it up very well. The things, and we just speaking statewide because that's where we were incarcerated. Once we began the study groups, you have a following. Now, to stabilize an institution, you got to reach the ones that's raising all the cane. Those are usually the young, what they call gang members or threat group, security threat group members. So they the ones we going after aggressively. We want the least, you know. So once we get their attention, they start coming out. Not by the 10s and the 20s, I'm talking about hundreds.
I bear witness.
Yeah, and when they come out, and the security staff, they will come into our services to observe because they're expecting something to go on.
That's right.
But they're seeing young men that they can't control, that won't listen to them, with their hats off, their wave caps, their sunglasses off, sitting down orderly, irregardless of to their affiliations or locations. Because sometimes people click together based on what city they're from: Memphis, Jackson, Nashville, Chattanooga. But at our service, you don't come in at Mr. Muhammad's house and do what you want to do. You sit down at the first available seat, and if that's not good enough for you, you politely ask to leave. But when they come in and they observe all of this peace and tranquility, then they want to know what's being said. And so once they see the guidance that we're giving them from Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan about cleaning up their cells, coming conscious, coming aware of their surroundings, then they know these young men are going to stop putting the drugs down, the alcohol, stop running out, stabbing each other. They're going to get into those books. And then they're going to see the services that they're supposed to get that they're being denied. And so after you get it built up, they'll just come and transfer you.
Yes, sir.
But That's as man plan, Allah plans. So what they do for evil, it works out good for us because that gives us the opportunity, like a seed, to go plant it at another institution. So you know, a Muslim inside, that's to the administration, that's the worst thing you can do, is have a Muslim actively engage in the people, because he got a captive audience.
Oh, praises due to Allah. Brothers, as you were speaking, I was thinking, you know, with this private institution, and I've been into the federal, the state, the private, I noticed with the private institution, I do a lot of turnarounds. There's a lot of lockdown. You drive an hour somewhere and you find out you can't go in. Then you have to drive an hour back. There's a lot of denial of rights in the private institution. What is the motive within a private institution for trying to name the Nation of Islam as a gang?
Well, brother, you have to get to the root of everything. Why is it that the Nation of Islam, in their paperwork, their religious handbook, is an acknowledged religion, yet you are actively perpetrating and propagating that it is a gang? It is because the thing that we teach is it awakens the young people in there. The Nation of Islam Prison Reform Ministry, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said it like this: true prison reform starts with the enlightenment of who that inmate is in reality, and not what he or she has become because of his circumstance. Well, the question is that gets answered at the Nation of Islam service: who are you in reality? See, in the Nation of Islam, they don't throw up our past. In the Nation of Islam, you're not called a convict or an inmate, or your Thomas ID number is in 237892.
That's right.
They call you and speak to you in the language of the prophets. They said you are a God, a children of the Most High God. So that language don't jive with the objective. So through propaganda and fear tactics and intimidation. For example, and Brother Dennis, feel free to jump in here. When they make the call for all these services, it's loud. They got movement, controlled movement.
I
but
bear
for
witness.
the Nation of Islam, there is no call. We forgot to issue the passage. The volunteer didn't show up, not knowing that they didn't called you and told you not to come. See, all those things to disrupt it. It's like a war, brother, for lack of a better word. We got to navigate through minefields. We got to navigate through barbed wire fences. We got snipers standing on the tower telling the people what you going down there for. They teaching, they doing this.
Your name's not on the list.
Yeah, but when the brothers get there, it's a love fest. See, who are we in reality? And once you understand who you are in reality, that you are a divine reflection of the Supreme Being, then you can get to the root of this problem. And I hope we have time to discuss that.
Oh, praise you to Allah. Brothers and sisters, just hold on Facebook. We're live. We're discussing true prison reform. I have Brother Kenneth X here, student minister in the prison reform ministry of Muhammad Mosque number 55, under the leadership of Brother Minister Anthony Muhammad, who is the Mid-South representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I have Brother Dennis X here, who's with me out of the South Haven Study Group. I kidnapped this brother.
Yes, sir.
And he's working within the student ministry under prison reform ministry. So, brother, do you have something you want to add to that, Brother Dennis?
No, sir. The brother covered it pretty well, sir.
All right, now, you were saying the knowledge of self. How does the knowledge of self start that process in true ministry reform?
Well,
and let me cut the reason why I asked that.
yes, sir.
Many people go into the prison, they bring religion. The Orthodox come in and they bring religion. The Christians come in, they bring religion. The Jehovah's Witness come in, they bring religion. But the Nation of Islam starts off first by teaching us the knowledge of self first.
Yes, sir. Well, when a man does not have self-knowledge, that's the most important knowledge you can possess. The knowledge of self and the knowledge of God is really one and the same. And it is those two knowledges that is the essence of our return to God. You see, we have a different understanding of who we are as human beings. we're here in a physical body, but we're celestial beings. So everything we do in the nation, it is in divine accordance with the scriptures of all the prophets of God. How does God refer to us in the scripture? He says that we're like gold. We're golden vessels that have been defiled with strong grief. So gold, if you understand anything about it, it is a medium of exchange of the nation. It has always been the standard of value. But gold isn't something you find on the top of the ground. You got to drill deep into the depths of the earth. And when it comes out of the earth, it has a dross or impurity on it that it has to be purified from. So we see a brother like Brother Dennis or like me or the hundreds of thousands of brothers that are locked down as gold that has just have a dross on it that the prison system is going to be utilized to purify them from. Because when you're in prison, brother, it's like being in the pit of hell. We call it what? The belly of the beast.
Belly of the beast.
And because it's serious like that. But so when a man has self-knowledge and has an understanding of who he really is, then he automatically, he sees himself in a different light. I'll say this and then I'll give it to Brother Dennis. I would have to write wardens and officials about certain things. And there was a warden, I won't call her name. She knew me when she was a counselor. She had moved up through the ranks, knew me on sight. But when I wrote her, she sent a note saying, when you write me, put your number on that. And I just smiled because I knew what she was saying. You ain't on my level. You an inmate, you less than human. Our people have always been regarded as what here in America? Less than human. So we already less than in some people's eyes, but now here I am, a quote-unquote inmate, writing her, signing my name like I'm a human being. She was offended by that. You know what I told her, Brother James? I said, when my mother gave me my name, it did not have a number attached to it.
That's right.
And so if I'm writing you and I don't attach that number to my name, I'm just doing what I was born to do, naturally.
Oh, praise to do to Allah, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The brother was speaking. It reminded me of a study guide called Struggle for Balance. And it reminded me like a mother giving birth to an egg. And inside that egg at the right time, that bird grows to maturity to peck its way out. The mother cleanses by licking it and nurturing it and feeding it. And at a certain point, that bird's supposed to fly. The bird doesn't fly out of lack of faith and fear. The bird don't know that it can fly. So the mother, in a nourishing, kind, loving way, nudged the bird out that nest. She stopped feeding that bird at a certain point. Not out of hatred, but out of love. And as she nudged that bird out that nest, and the bird began to drop, the bird instinctively flaps its wing. And it developed faith and strength that I can do this. I can fly. Brothers in prison, brothers incarcerated. I love to say that before we was locked up physically, we was locked up mentally, morally, and spiritually. Once you enter the Nation's Islam reform program, once you enter the Nation's Islam manhood training program, into Godhood program, the narrative changed. You no longer see yourself the way the world see you. Minister Louis Farrakhan changed our paradigm. By a matter of fact, the Honorable Muhammad went a step further. He even gave us our own unique definition for particular and peculiar words.
Come on.
So a word might mean one thing to you, but to us it means something different.
Yes, sir.
Your knowledge base is secular, hermeneutical origin. His knowledge base is from divine origin. And that's the distinction between the Nation's Islam program. Everything the Most Honorable Muhammad give us, and his top student, his main man, if you will,
yes,
his best helper,
yes,
the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. What they give us, man, is the knowledge directly from God. Nobody else says that. Nobody else teaches that. They giving you their particular individual understanding. their particular program. This man saying that the knowledge I'm giving you is from Almighty God, Allah, who intervened in our affairs in the person of a well-made man by the name of Farad. And I say that in this context, that once you understand that man is physical, but the indwelling spirit or energy of God is from everlasting to everlasting. And in the Quran called the hoop of Allah, if you attach them to that hoop, that circuit, that electricity, now that flow, that energy, that vibration from God flows through you. And the redemptive process began,
yes, sir.
But it never ends.
Never ends.
And that's why brothers get out here so full of the spirit, because it's no, man, I was once dead. I was once dead, but now I'm found. I was in the dry, in the valley with the dry bones.
Come on, brother.
But a strong wind came upon us.
Shook them bones.
And what it do, brother? I'm gonna let y'all have it.
Go ahead,
You remind me of the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He said, sometimes Allah have to put us in a vice to get our attention because he want to use us.
Yes, sir. That's right.
And he says, some of my best followers are locked up in the belly of the beast. And you all are a manifestation of that. You know, you give your testimony, but I'm reminded of the scriptures. Allah came to wipe away all of our sins.
Oh, Lord.
And then we throw them in the sea of forgetfulness and forgiveness, then a new person is born again. Because if you sit here and just really observe you brothers, you know, I will say, well, yeah, they pulling my leg.
Right.
Them brother was incarcerated. Look how good they look. Look how they sound. But you touch me, you said the Spirit of God. You know, we used to do this thing where we said throw that move and pass it on to the brother.
That's old school.
That's old school. Throw that move.
Yeah.
But I bear witness because my brother, when he comes to the mosque, he brings his guests. But you bring guests because you touch them with your spirit.
Yes, sir.
And he's not just a student minister in the prison reform, but he's a married man now.
That's right. That's right.
He's a father now.
Yes, sir.
He's a business owner now. So it's a complete holistic reform. Brothers and sisters, if you're just now tuning in, welcome to Self-Improvement, Basis for a Community Development Talk Show, where I'm here with my beautiful brothers of the Nation of Islam, the fruit of Islam.
Yes, sir.
These brothers are student ministers in the prison reform ministry, and we're discussing this afternoon true prison reform, and it's a retake. And I thank you brothers for coming back, because even though as I went back and watched the last taping, and put it on Facebook, there's a lot of hits still, but we have to do it justice.
That's right.
There's a lot on your heart, a lot on your mind that you can share with the people. Now, here in Memphis, our young men and young women are being incarcerated. What advice would you give to parents and wives, mothers and fathers who have children and husbands incarcerated in this belly of beasts?
Well, Brother James, I would say, like we used to sing in the church, don't judge me because God is not through with me.
That's right.
Don't put a period on you, huh?
Yeah. We all have to go through something. Now, our young people, and again, I had mentioned, to get to understand why we're so passionate about this, we got to get to the whys. See, the scripture is a roadmap for us to use for guidance. And I just want to mention something very briefly that's in the Bible. You can go back and read it for yourself in the book of Exodus. And I want to read it so I can be right and exact.
Yes, sir.
Where it says in the first chapter, and he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join on to an enemy of ours and come up against us. So let's get them about the land. And so what was the plan? It said, kill all the male babies and spare the females. Now we can look at that as being yesterday, but I think last Tuesday night you quantified that, Brother Dennis, looking at the statistics. The largest demographic in prison now are young men 18 to 25.
Yes, sir.
And the largest or the fastest growing demographic is women. Now, if I have an agenda where it says come, that's an invitation. Let us. A conspiracy is 2 or more people engaged in a criminal enterprise. Deal, that's an agenda, that's a plan. How are you going to deal with them? Wisely. So this particular man styled as Pharaoh represents the government of the United States.
Yes, sir.
He's talking to some highly placed individuals. Is he talking to the Department of Education? Is he talking to the USDA, Department of Agriculture? Is he talking to the Health Department? Is he talking to his finance men? All of these particular people control aspects of you and our lives. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says, he who gives you the diameter of your knowledge controls the circumference of your activities.
Come on.
So where are we getting our knowledge base from? Where are we getting our political system from? Where are we getting our economic system from? All of those systems play in. The point I'm making is this. Those demographics are not an accident. There's an active governmental plan to lock down all these young men that you see locked down. The school to prison pipeline is a very real thing. And if it was happening to another demographic, it would be dealt with as a matter of life and death.
Yes,
it will be deemed a national emergency, just like the opioid crisis. Drugs are drugs. But when crack cocaine hit the black community, and we now know that that wasn't an accident, we now know the government brought tons of drugs into South Central LA to finance the Contras, use our brother Freeway Ricky Ross, and then use the gang members to distribute the drugs, allowed it to grow, allowed them to purchase weapons, to perpetrate violence on an unsuspecting community, and then take that all over the United States, and then you want to label them criminals? Oh no, sir. They are only getting caught up in the trap that was laid for them.
Come on with it, brother.
Woo.
Yes,
Brother. Well, you quote that scripture, come let us deal wisely with them. And I was thinking about the private institution. Could it be the root of the problem why they interfere with the study groups within the private institution, with the coordinators coming in, with moving you all around, because the Nation of Islam is interfering with that process of dealing wisely with them?
Yeah, 100%, brother.
100%.
100%.
Okay.
So,
no, I love it. I would the great guide, the beautiful Messiah, he always taught in parables, and he gave you short stories to illustrate moral truths and spiritual insight. We have been, when the brother was speaking about cocaine, you got Cain and you got the word co. We have been co-conspirator with Cain. And Cain killed his brother out of jealousy and envy.
I like that.
So we
Taking copious notes on this, brother.
so we have been co-conspirators with our enemy in destroying ourselves and our people.
That's right.
So a man has came along with wisdom and knowledge that been kept hidden from the foundation of the world. And that wisdom, that knowledge is like a sword. Am I saying it right? It's like a sword, a two-edged sword that cut 2 and 4. Some say it's the tongue, and it is. But it's also symbolic. When you spell the word sword, SWORD.
Yes, sir.
You take the, look at me. You take the S off sword, you got word. So what is the sword? The sword is the sacred word that been kept hidden from the foundation of the world, and only God himself brought that knowledge to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the honorable Lord Farrakhan, and they divine kindness to us gave it to us, shared it with us, the supreme wisdom. And it's that truth cutting 2 and 4. So when brothers like you try to come in and help teach us, they don't want you to bring us their truth. They don't want you to give you their insight, because we can have a lot of we can have the books, we can buy the books and information, but they don't want it to be organized. Right. You get strong brothers like myself or Brother Kennedy in certain institution, you better get into organized demand. See, if you think about prison, and I'm not gonna go too deep with this, but if you think about prison, the first thing that they lock you up, They put you into a what? A cell. Ask yourself, what is a cell?
Come on, brother.
What is the purpose of a cell? From that cell, you extend it to a what? A pod. What is a pod? I'm asking questions to quicken in thought that you may derive at a conclusion yourself. It's not necessary for me to give you the answer, but I want to provoke thought. It's a great teacher, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan does for us. And you in a unit. But when you study, when you've been inside of a prison, like you walking into, is it fallopian tubes, brother?
Yes,
when you go into the womb of the woman and you got 2 fallopian tubes, that's the way the pod in prison is made. When you walk into it, you got 2 units.
Yes, sir.
And you go into a cell.
A or B, one or two.
One or two.
Yes, sir.
But in each one of them, when you go into a deep, each one of them got 3 layers of lockup. On the outside, 3 layers of lockup. The 7th-layer lockup is a security guard in a van riding around with a towel. You behind 7 layers of incarceration. And all of it is not just physical, mental, psychological, emotion, the will. Can I break your will? Can I break your spirit? Now I'm talking in signs and symbols because I want you to get a picture of what I'm trying to convey. What I'm trying to convey in essence, before we was locked up physically, we was locked up mentally and morally with lack of education, lack of economics, lack of health care, lack of mental health. And when brother trying to come into us, they got to free us on them same 7 levels. I use myself as a testimony. I had a lot of information, some would call it knowledge. I got out, but I could not provide for my family. It's true.
Yes, sir.
I had a mediocre job, but I could not provide for myself or my family. You imagine someone who's been locked since they was 14, get throughout the society. I don't know nothing about how to navigate Memphis. I don't know about filling out an application. I don't know anything about how to really conduct business. And there was no one to teach me. So I was left vulnerable in that capacity. And when you got to eat, if everybody's eating, you're going to do what? When it's time to pay bills, if somebody give you a way, you're going to do what?
Make a way.
So we got to,
yes, sir.
Those who know better, when you know better, you got to do better.
Come on.
We got to provide ways for our people, man. When the brother, Student National Minister Abdullah over the prison ministry reform, national prison reform, that's what we talk about, the reentry program to society.
Yes, sir, brother.
We got to deal with that's a pivotal aspect of reform.
It is.
Because it's a process, the continuing process. A lot of brothers fall off because why? They've been taught a lot of supreme wisdom and knowledge. And when you get out, they don't see that knowledge being implemented or manifested.
That's the practical application we always talked about.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, brothers, you said something very important, reentry program. How can families play a positive role in helping brothers re-enter back into society?
The hardest thing in the world for somebody to do, and this in everybody, most people who come out of prison, family, disconnected. I know I'm looking for a certain word. Disconnected, dysfunction is what I'm looking for. So most of the time when we get out of prison, I have family looking for us to come what? Save the day. Believe it or not, they waiting on you to get out. Thinking you're gonna go back to the same thing, whether it's stealing, writing bad checks, selling dope, robbing, whatever you was doing before, feeding everybody. They expect that from you again.
I'm glad you said that.
So most of us you almost got to change the people, places, and things. You got to modify and change the behavior. You can only do that and it be practically reinforced about being around people that's living a quote unquote, look at the word I'm going to use, a normal life. So our family and friends can understand and give us a cushion, man. When a brother got out of jail, get him 3 to 6 months to reacclimate to society, regardless of what anybody think. I say anybody think. When you first leave the institution, man, you almost got to detox.
That's right.
Your ways are not my ways. My ways are not your ways. Your ways are from above. My ways are from below. Your ways are from below. That's us. Our ways from below. His ways from above. We come from prison. We were in society. How you live in prison is not how you live in society. Overwhelmingly, prison consists of a whole lot of testosterone, fake testosterone, masculinity, and aggression. Overall. That's what you walk in amongst when you walking around people who, if they can't bite still, they want to believe they can. And some of the brothers, that's unique. And you know this special in prison. A lot of people carry pocket knives in there. But they know when they come to Nation's Alarm Service, you can't bring them up here. And you got Crips and Bloods, G's and vice lords and Memphis mob and this, that, and other. And they leave their weapons in their cells out of respect for the nation and come to our service. Knowing that when you're in our service, when you're here, you on Muhammad's protection. Ain't nothing gonna go down in here.
No, sir.
And they respect that, man. You know why they didn't? Because they fear us. They know we love them. They know we got their best interests at heart. I hope I ain't go too far. I know you got something to say.
Go ahead, brother. Let me do a commercial break, brothers. Brothers and sisters, if you're just now tuning in to the Self-Improvement Basis for Community Development Talk Show. We're on fire here. I'm sitting here with Brother Kenneth X of Muhammad Mosque number 55. He's a student minister in the prison reform under the leadership of Brother Minister Anthony Muhammad at Muhammad Mosque number 55 over there on 873 Vance Avenue.
Yes, sir.
I have Brother Dennis X, who is a student minister also in prison reform at South Haven Study Group, and we're discussing true prison reform. But the basis of everything we do is the self-improvement basis for community development study guide.
Yes, sir.
And that meeting is every Friday at 7:30 at your local mosque or your local study group in your city. So I know you Facebook Live, but you should go on to NOI.org, Nation of Islam website, and order this study guide. Brother, go ahead, my brother.
Yes, well, brother Dennis X, he so eloquently and passionately dealt with that issue. All I want to do is kind of lamb back on it as we
yeah, we don't piggyback.
Yeah, lamb back on it I can. The question we got to ask ourselves, why is Islam and the Nation of Islam in particular so influential in the institution, but also so attractive to these young men? Most of us, and I can just speak for myself, but a friend of mine told me, and she said this, that when you talking, if you're talking to 10 people, 6 of them just like you were. She said, so to connect with them, just be sincere and real. So sometimes we'll talk about our lives. I know how my life was. I knew what my self-perception was. I knew no matter how I act or how popular people say I was, I suffered from low self-esteem. I suffered from bad self-perception. I had baggage, man, that nobody ever dealt with, because when you get up in the morning, you put that uniform on, you put that suit on, you got that persona. You know, like Denzel can put himself into a role and have you believing he Malcolm X or he Hurricane Carter. Well, most of us, I'm talking about black men now, we playing a role.
Come on with it, bro. Teach.
Playing. So as he was talking about that hyper testosterone masculinity, it's a facade. We really afraid.
Yes, sir.
Afraid of being who we really are. And so we come as damaged goods, we hurt, and hurt people hurt people.
Yes, sir.
But once you come into this knowledge and I see a young man, I say, that was me 10 years ago. I said, let me talk to you, brother. And when they come to our service, and the brother, we spend a little time together, we don't give them that milquetoast teaching.
Come on with it, bro.
When a young man who hasn't had a father, a big brother, or an uncle, a real man in his life, you don't come to him with no watered down milquetoast teaching. He gonna tell you to get up out of his face. And I'm saying it nice. But you bring to him the strength and the power of what a real man look like. A real man don't need a knife. A real man don't need a gun. A real man don't have to throw hands, because you use these when this and this don't work for you.
Yes, sir.
We're not allowed to carry any weapons, whether we inside a prison out here, not even a penknife.
That's right.
And we talking to guys who got the persona, and some of them are actual killers, bangers. They stay strapped. But when we come to them with the love and the power of God.
Yes, sir.
Come on. We talk to the God in that young man, and you see them change their lives. You know, there was, I want to say, here in Tennessee, we had like 5 Bloods that had accepted teachings. 4 or 5 Crips. Can you imagine Crips and Bloods on the same prayer carpet? Can you imagine Crips and Blood eating at the same table? See, that is a sign for what we can do out here if we're allowed to. See, brothers are attracted to the strength. If you want to be a man, you got to have a man in front of you.
Come on with it, man.
If you a lion, a pussycat can't show a lion how to be a lion. There's a lion asleep in Judah, but who will awake him? Well, I'm here to tell you, brother, that man right there, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that's a man-making machine. And I don't care how you come. We say come as you are. Because you know you're not going to stay that way.
You're not going to stay that way.
Praise be to God.
Brothers and sisters, we also want to discuss the event that's coming up titled True Prison Reform. Brother Ken, I'm going to let you open that up for us and tell us more about this event and how can we get involved and why is it so important for parents and husbands and wives and grandmothers to get involved in this event.
Yes, sir. Statistically, Brother Dennis X did such a marvelous job bringing that point home. There's over 70 million people actively connected to the correctional system, either physically incarcerated, which is over 2.5 million,
that's right,
or either on probation, parole, community service. That is a big segment of the population here in America. So it isn't just a black issue or a Latino issue, poor whites, it's a human issue.
Come on.
Now, in our community, we are adversely affected by this. 70% of the men who are in prison are getting out. They're getting out. And where are they going to? Right back into those neighborhoods. Many of them are desolate, depressed areas. So we have to do something to have an effect upon the men while they're in prison, so when they come out, they can be a positive force for change. And so what we're doing on November 10th in Nashville, Tennessee, we're having a prison reform gala. Now, what we're trying to do is connect with our people in the community. Many of our people, they don't know us. They don't know of the redemptive work of the Nation of Islam. They don't know that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been working among black people for over 63 years. I mean, you got to look at that, brother. And you know, we as a people, we hard to deal with. Yes, but here's a man through love, commitment, dedication, been working over 6 decades. And the program that we have is tailor-made for the black man. So we want to engage the community, have you come out, get to know us, ask us questions. There's going to be brothers like Dennis X sitting on a panel. I think Minister James, you're going to be there as well. Be able to take your questions, take your concerns. And we don't care if you're Muslim, Christian, educated, not educated, have money, need some money. Just come on down. Because it's not about a particular religion or organization. It is about our people. Yes, we have to do something. The man that's in the White House is showing us daily that he don't care about us. So if government not going to intervene and solve this problem, then we have to solve it for ourselves.
Oh, praise be to Allah. Brother Dennis?
Yes, sir. Not just the reform process, but for parents who may not have nobody, just have a young male or female that's beginning to get in trouble. We got to have a preventive program. And by listening to our testimony, we can tell you and explain to you some of the traps that led up to our imprisonment.
That's right, that's right.
That maybe can help you prevent your son or daughter from going through the hell that we went through. You know, we can almost guarantee you that 3 out of 10 black men end up incarcerated. But we can decrease that number if we learn some preventive measures. And one of the most preventive measures is, and I say this with love and with humility, that if it's a young black man in 4th grade or under, once he hit the 4th grade, he need a black male in his life. A strong black male, whether it be a coach, a spiritual teacher, a karate teacher, an uncle, a big brother, a granddaddy, but he need a positive role model. We learn from what people say, but we learn more from what people do. And if we got our young kids around people living a positive and productive lifestyle, he will learn to emulate that. Because at the end of the day, the child wants success. That's why he's attracted to the gangbanger, the drug dealer. Because he's negative in what he's doing, but to somebody who's poor and in poverty, He's like a success story.
Yes, sir.
Come on.
But if you change the narrative, you see somebody that got a small business that's successful, that got a career job. What I mean by career job, I mean a professional job, an engineer, or STEM programs. You know what I mean?
Yes,
a
sir.
firefighter, police, or whatever. But he's successful in what he's doing and not struggling. He wants somebody to emulate. That can influence him, that can change him.
Come on.
He don't gotta believe that he got to sell drugs to be a man. When he'll be something else we need to see. Well, they need kids need to be around more married.
Come on.
Young kids need. Am I wrong for saying that, bro?
No, that's perfect.
They need to be seen that a loving black man with a loving black woman, and they happen. I ain't talking about the damn college. I'm talking about real life.
Come on.
That it's gonna be ups and downs, but once they through sickness, through good times and bad times, when a child watch that, when a young girl watch that, she want her husband and not a one-night stand.
Come on, bro.
A young man can understand, okay, I got to go out and get the money. And I got to be here to raise my kids.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Not make a baby her, and there. And neglect them. So we got to get them a proper image of what a strong black man look like. And take it away from, there's nothing wrong with rappers or sports figures, but that ain't the normal, real, everyday
hard-working man.
That ain't the hard-working man. You know what I'm saying? So we got to change the narrative, man, of what a strong black man look like, what a strong black family look like. They do exist, as opposed to what the media teach you.
That's right.
You know, so that's some of the things that I encourage. For young boys, they need manhood training. You know, people go out and shoot bow and arrows and crossbows for sports. People go out and shoot guns, not to hurt and kill nobody, but for sports. People go fishing and hunting for sport. They join martial arts for sports. They do things for sport to channel their aggression. And even sometimes to get rid of their stress and anger. But it's in a positive, constructive, guided way, not in a destructive way.
That's right.
Most of our people got murder charges in jail. They ain't even killed the people that they were shooting at. Because they shooting sideways. Because the movie told them to do it like that.
That's right, brother.
You see what I'm saying?
Bad influence.
Bad. A deadly influence. Yes, sir.
But brothers and sisters, if you're just now tuning in, on November the 10th, 2018, True Prison Reform, Muhammad Mosque number 60, second annual Prison Reform Gala. This is going to be in Nashville. South Haven Study Group will be going up. We'll be taking a van load to support the Prison Reform Ministry. If you'd like to buy a journal ad to support this gala, for a name is only $10. For business cards is $25. For a half page is $50. And for a full page is $100. You will see as we in post-production, we're going to play this again, and we're going to give out all the information. Do you have any contact information you'd like to give out now, sir?
Yes, sir, brother. For anybody that want to purchase a ticket or make a donation, you can contact me at mr.kenethx1965@gmail.com. That's mr.keneth1965@gmail.com. And you can contact me, and then we'll, if you need a ticket, we'll get it to you. If you want to make a donation, whatever you need, contact me. That's my email address, and we can make it happen, brother.
Oh, praise due to Allah. You know, as you brothers were speaking, I was thinking, you know, the worst feeling being a student prison reform minister is when you go into the system and you work with our brothers, and then you leave, but you have to leave them there.
Yes, sir.
And I always used to say, brother, man, we got work for you out here. And I remember the first time I met you, my brother, and I left you.
Yes, sir.
Now you out helping. I remember when I first met you,
yes,
and I used to tell you, brother. Matter of fact, when he came out, I had to go kidnap him.
Yeah, I heard about it.
There's plenty of work for you out there, brother.
Yes, sir.
So I thank Allah for bringing you home safely to your nation, where you can come and work now and help reform others. And as we say, watch God work.
That's right.
Before we leave, brothers, you have any closing statement you'd like to make to the community, mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, husbands and wives, to encourage them to hang with our brothers and sisters who are incarcerated?
Yes, brother. The reason I'm so passionate about the Nation of Islam Prison Reform Ministry, and just like the church say, I know what he's done for me. You see, you looking at a brother that wasn't supposed to be here.
Yes, sir.
You all know, and that's why you all, you know, be so excited when you see me.
That's right.
I was serving life in prison. I did nearly 26 years. I haven't been out. I think today is day 100, 101. And people don't know that, as I said. I'm saying it for a reason. There were people who loved me and I loved them, but they gave up because the journey, you know, the Quran says it, had it been near gain and a short journey, you know, they would have, you know, went with you. But the Nation of Islam stuck with me. You know, my family members, they stuck with me. And sometimes we give up on one another too easy. You know, the race is not to the swift.
Come on with it, bro.
But it's to those who endure to the end. If we are believers in however you understand God, we know he's the master of all circumstances. So whatever he has you, he's trying to get your son, your daughter, your husband, your nephew, your uncle's attention. You have to have that support. I'm a living witness of the process of atonement. I'm not talking about saying I'm sorry and moving on. I'm talking about dedicating my life, my every waking moment to the rise of our people. I could have easily gotten out and just said, "Woo, I'm glad it's over with," and been out here partying, frolicking. But you know, you bear me witness because you all rotate with me the most. I got out day one going to work.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
And I'm going to keep on working. And for all of the brothers that's on lockdown who have found a way to have access to this, brother, let me give you a shout out, because those brothers, while I was in there, they bagged me up.
That's right.
You see, the scripture says they wanted to take Jesus, just using this as an example, but they feared the people. You think a brother like him or a brother like myself could have been successful if we didn't have the backing and protection of the people? And those young brothers that's on lockdown, I'm hollering at you. Understand what we're trying to do. Stop the disunity. Come together. Settle your differences intellectually and not with violence. When you all get together in there, you'll get these brothers together out here, and we'll have this thing locked down overnight. No question about it. I'm here to help shut down the prison industrial complex. Take it or let it alone. But you watch. If you bag us up and support us with your time, we're going to be successful.
Yes, sir.
All right, Brother Dennis, I made it through his testimony without crying now. But tears of joy. Keep it short and simple.
Yes, sir. I would encourage everybody, man, to use and to explore the power of love.
Come on.
Come on, brother.
The first, fall in love with God and yourself, the God in you. Once you fall in love with yourself, you will not do anything to hurt yourself, and you will get the necessary help that you need. Learn to love yourself. Parents, love your kids unconditionally. Understand that they might make mistakes. That's natural, that's normal, we all did it. But love them, because we all need that love. That's the essence of Christ. That's the essence of Master Lord's Farrakhan. It's love, man. Explore it. It don't, for the men, it don't make you weak to tell another man or somebody that, or your child, that I love you.
That's right, bro. They need to hear that.
They need to hear that. We need to hear that, man. That's one of the most, if not the most, besides the knowledge of God himself, healing tool that you need is love, man. Next is forgiveness, and I'm through.
Okay. Brothers and sisters, thank you once again for tuning in to the Self-Improvement Basis for Community Development Talk Show. And most of all, we want to thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because without him, neither one of us would be sitting here. We thank him for over 63 years staying the course, that brothers like you and I can hear this word and make a change in our life. So brothers and sisters, just remember, Muhammad Mosque number 60, the second annual Prison Reform Gala, True Prison Reform, Saturday, November the 10th, 2018 in Nashville. We've been sending out information over Facebook,
Yes, sir.
If you'd like to get more information, please call me at 901-289-1651, South Haven Study Group. And on behalf of Muhammad Mosque number 55, I'd like to thank them and Brother Minister Anthony Muhammad for allowing you to come on. And thank you once again, Brother Dennis, for both of you brothers coming on for this retaping. So with that, brothers and sisters, until next week, self-improvement, the basis for community development. Assalamu alaikum.